So when Elizabeth Tudor became queen back in 1558, the kingdom she inherited, it was an absolute wreck. We're talking bankrupt, completely torn apart by religious fighting, and surrounded by enemies who were way more powerful. Her own claim to the throne was shaky at best. Honestly, most people expected her to fail and fail fast. So how on earth did she manage to turn all that around?
And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? Her kingdom was broke. Her own life was constantly in danger. So how did this young, unmarried queen, in a world completely dominated by men, not only survive, but actually go on to build one of the most celebrated eras in all of English history? Well, the answer is a fascinating story of incredible political skill, some pretty ruthless decisions, and maybe just a little bit of luck. Okay, so to really get a handle on what Elizabeth accomplished, you first have to understand just how bad things were when she started. I mean, she wasn't just handed a crown, she was handed a poison chalice. This was a nation on the absolute brink of collapse. What's so interesting here is how you can split the problems into two camps: England's problems and Elizabeth's personal problems. On one side, the country itself was staring down the barrel of a religious civil war between Protestants and Catholics. The world bank account, totally empty. And you had these huge powers like Spain and France just circling, looking at England like it was ripe for the picking. Then, on the other side, you've got Elizabeth herself. A lot of people saw her as illegitimate, the daughter of the disgraced Anne Boleyn. She was an unmarried woman in a man's world, which was a huge deal back then. And to top it all off, she had powerful rivals, including her own cousin, who had a really strong claim to her throne. The odds against her were, well, they were almost impossible. So, what do you do when you're handed this total catastrophe? Well, if you're Elizabeth, you don't panic. Instead, she played a brilliant long game. She came up with a strategy that was somehow both incredibly cautious and ridiculously bold, all designed to tackle her problems one by one. Let's break down her game plan, because it was pretty straightforward, at least on paper. It was basically a three-step process. First, and this was the big one, stop the religious bloodshed that was tearing the country apart. Step 2, since the country was broke, you had to avoid getting dragged into expensive foreign wars no matter what. And finally, Step 3, unify the nation. And how do you do that? By creating this whole new sense of English pride with her, the so-called Virgin Queen, right at the very heart of it all. And this is a perfect example of how she operated. The Elizabethan religious settlement was just a masterpiece of political compromise. It created a Church of England that was officially Protestant, which kept the reformers happy, but, and this is the clever part, it kept some of the old Catholic traditions, the fancy robes and a more familiar prayer book. Her goal wasn't to make everyone happy or to create the perfect church. The goal was to create a peaceful kingdom. The key takeaway here is that she chose being practical over being pious every single time. But, having a plan is one thing. Actually surviving long enough to pull it off, that's a whole different ballgame. For the next 30 years, Elizabeth's plan and her life were constantly being put to the test. One storm after another rolled in, and any one of them could have sunk her and her kingdom for good. This timeline really shows you how the pressure just kept building and building. In 1568, her Catholic cousin, Mary, Queen of Scots, shows up in England, and she instantly becomes this magnet for anyone who wants to overthrow Elizabeth. Then, just 2 years later, the Pope excommunicates Elizabeth. That basically put a giant target on her back, telling every Catholic in Europe that killing her wasn't a sin, it was a holy mission. For almost 20 years, Elizabeth dodged calls to execute Mary, but the plots just kept coming. Finally, she signs the death warrant in 1587, and that was the final straw for Catholic Spain. The very next year, they sent everything they had, the Spanish Armada. And this was it, the climax. As this supposedly invincible Spanish fleet sailed for England, Elizabeth went to her troops and gave this incredible speech. With these words, she wasn't just a monarch anymore. She became the living symbol of England itself, defiant, fearless, and ready to fight to the death. In the end, the Armada was defeated, thanks to a combination of English skill and some seriously bad weather. And that victory sealed her throne and her legend forever. So, with that massive Spanish threat finally gone, and most of the plots against her crushed, all that stability Elizabeth had fought tooth and nail for, it finally started to pay off. Big time. The last part of her reign saw this incredible explosion of culture, exploration, and a new, confident English identity. And this is what we talk about when we say the Golden Age. The piece she created just unleashed all this creativity. You've got William Shakespeare literally changing theater forever.
You have daring adventurers like Sir Francis Drake sailing all the way around the world. There was a huge boom in English poetry and music, and all of it helped create this powerful new idea of what it meant to be English, proud, defiant, and incredibly loyal to their queen.
And hey, it wasn't just about culture. It was also about cold, hard cash. Just look at this number. It's honestly staggering. Drake's trip around the world wasn't just for exploration. It was basically a massive pirate raid on Spanish ships. The treasure he brought back gave his investors, including the Queen herself, a return of around 4,000%. That incredible influx of money helped stabilize the economy and bankrolled even more adventures.
But looking back now, we've got to ask, was this age really golden for everybody? The real story, just like Elizabeth herself, is always a little more complicated than the legend.
Yeah, it's really important to separate the myth from the reality here. The popular image is of this merry, prosperous England where everyone was united. But that just wasn't the whole story. For a lot of people, it was a time of crushing poverty. If you were a Catholic or even a Protestant who was a little too radical, you faced brutal persecution. And it was during this great age of exploration that England took its very first steps into the horrific transatlantic slave trade. So yes, the Golden Age shone very brightly, but it also cast some very, very dark shadows.
Which brings us to our final big question. Was Elizabeth's incredible success really